Lesson 24, write algebraic expressions. So an algebraic expression is basically you're taking verbal or written words and you're turning it into a math problem, into a mathematical expressions. And you do this using a combination of letters and numbers to show your equation. And there's a lot of vocabulary involved with algebra. We're not going to go over all of it here, but some major words are term, which are the different numbers and letters in your problem. Then you need to know the different kinds of operations, like sum means addition, difference means subtraction, product means multiplication, quotient means division. A variable is any letter in a problem. A constant is any number in a problem. So there's a lot of vocabulary. The more you use and practice algebra, the more familiar with this vocabulary you'll become. All right. So you're going to have to study this vocabulary because, again, what you're going to be doing is taking this vocabulary, these words, and turning it into math problems. So let's look at an example. It says, which algebraic expression can be translated as 3 times a distance d? Select the 4 that apply. So again, we don't know what d is. We don't know what the distance is, but that doesn't matter. We're not solving right here. We just have to write what that equation is. So looking here, let's look at all of these that show 3 times distance d. Basically, which one of these shows 3 times d? So if we look at A, anytime 2 terms are touching, 3 is touching the d directly, nothing in between, that's a multiplication problem. If 2 terms are touching with no sign in between, that is a multiplication problem. So 3d is the same as 3 times d. B is an addition problem. We don't want addition. Looking at C, C says 3 times d. Well, that's exactly what we're looking for. Looking at D, you see that little dot there? That little dot also means multiplication. If there's a dot between 2 numbers or 2 variables or a variable and constant, if there's a dot there, that means multiplication. And looking at E, see these parentheses there? Well, again, these two are directly touching each other. Even though those parentheses there, they are touching each other. So it's also 3D. So there's not always going to be one way to write an algebraic expression. Here, 3 times distance d, all 4 of these are a way of showing that. They're all saying 3 times d. Let's look at another example. It says, write the algebraic expression 6 parentheses s plus 7 parentheses in words. All right, so now we're working backwards. We've given the mathematical expression. Now we need to come up with the algebraic expression. So let's look at this problem. Now, what's happening first? Well, if we remember our order of operations, PMDAS, PEMDAS, then we know that parentheses come first. So the first thing we have to do is s plus 7. After s plus 7, we multiply that answer by 6 because 6 is directly touching that parentheses there. So looking at this, what we need to do is s plus 7, then times 6. And if we look at our answers, here, 6 times the, ready, sum of an unknown quantity, s is our unknown quantity, and 7. So we have the sum of an unknown quantity and 7, s plus 7, 6 times that. One more example. It says, which algebraic expression can be read as, quote, 2 less than the product of 5 and an unknown quantity, right? So 2 less than is telling me subtraction, but it's subtracted from what? It says the product of 5 and an unknown quantity. Well, again, product is telling me multiplication. So how do I show multiplication with 5 and an unknown quantity? Well, remember, if 2 things are just touching, that means that it's multiplication. So I got 5 and an unknown quantity. Here, I'm going to use x for an unknown quantity. Again, the letter doesn't really matter. All right, it just needs to stand for a variable. So here we got product of 5 and an unknown quantity, that's 5x. And then 2 less than that. Well, less than is telling me subtraction. So after I get the product of 5 and an unknown quantity, 5x, I subtract 2, get it 2 less than. So 2 less than the product of 5 and an unknown quantity looks like 5x minus 2. So again, this is just going to take a lot of practice. You're going to have to learn your vocabulary and just break it down step by step.